As you're going to hear, boos from our audience, starting with the news that the BBC are scrapping free TV licences for over 75s. They say it's the only way for them to save money and avoid closing down some channels. Now, it means around 3 million pensioners will have to start paying £154.50 a year starting next June. Now, the only people who will still get the free licence are those who can prove they claim pension credit. Gloria, I know you feel very strongly about this. You've spoken about this before on this very show. What did you think when you heard this decision yesterday?
Well, I have been very vocal about it over the last couple of years, while it's been mooted that maybe it would be abolished. I suppose there's only a fragment of me, at least, was a bit relieved that not everybody would lose it. But in my own work and in terms of filming and everything, I see so much, you know, almost devastation in terms of loneliness that you mentioned. I mean, it's already there as an epidemic in this country. And the vulnerability of people. And, you know, as Age UK said yesterday, you know, people, it is their lifeline.
Yeah.
And it is their entertainment, it is their news, it is their connection with the world. And it breaks my heart to think that, you know, deep down there will be people who might be disabled or, you know, just not able to get out, who will not be able to do that. However, there is one point that I do think, in a way, and I'm not defending the BBC, but I don't think it's fair in a way that they have to decide who's poorest in this country and who's not. It's a government problem. I mean, I really believe that the government should deal with that. And I have a strong image. I remember Gordon Brown in particular. There were others, but I remember Gordon Brown standing up in the Commons one day and saying, this is free and that's free. And for pensioners over 75, free licence forever. And the whole place stood up and roared and everybody clapped and cheered. I'm going to break it down quite easy. I know Janet feels very strongly about it too, but this is what I think will happen. The backlash, first of all, is very strong, as you know, today. I don't think we've heard the end of it. But I think that there are people in this country, millionaires and people very well off, who will say, well, I can afford to pay the licence. So that's one category. Then at the other end, there are people who are in that category who will get the licence free. And then in the middle, in my opinion, there's this huge void because there are people that are just outside the pension credit or people who, in fact, Janet's going to explain how that works.
That happens a lot, though, Janet, doesn't it? It's that middle ground. You have people who are wealthy, they can afford to pay their licence, and then the people who have credits. And then there's this swathe of people in the middle who've got a bit of savings, you know, they maybe bought their own house, they've worked hard, they've saved some money.
In the past, I've been on loads of programmes like Gloria, and I've said, don't take away pensioners' benefits. Why keep hitting on pensioners? It's a cheap trick. They've worked hard all their lives, they've saved up, and don't destroy their old age by taking away their benefits. And I know that one of the reasons why the government didn't get rid of the fuel allowance was because they said it was too hard to put into practice. And what I feel about this, number one, is that everybody has to, who might even be eligible, must try and get pension credit. You must, because it's underclaimed at the moment.
Explain how that works, because I know there's a ton of money waiting to be claimed.
There's a ton of money waiting to be claimed, but you've got to reveal whether you're on a mortgage, whether you've got a carer, whether you have to, what your savings are. Now, even if you've got more than £10,000 in savings or shares, you still can get pension credit. You might not get as much. So step number one has got to be, you must see if you're eligible for it. But what I will say is that I resent a television and radio being categorised as entertainment. I want it categorised as part of a social care package because it's part of people's well-being. Let's not diminish the impact that TV and radio have on people's lives who might, you know, one in 4 people of pensionable age now don't talk to people, anyone, day in and day out. 1 in 4 old people in this country or elderly people say they are lonely. So it's a huge issue. Now, the television, if people are suffering loneliness and, you know, feeling isolated, then surely the government can find a way to make TV licences part of their care package.
Because it used to be, didn't it? It was the Department of Work and Pensions that it used to come under, and then they handed that to the BBC. So you kind of go, well, how are the BBC supposed to fund that
But what makes me cross is the fact that Theresa May, outgoing Prime Minister, stood up and said, oh, well, the BBC have to rethink this. I'm sorry, but the government shoved that onto the BBC in terms of now they have to work out who's entitled to it and who's not. And I'm sure Janet would agree, because Janet's got a ton of money. I mean, she's not 75 yet. But you'd be happy to pay your licence, wouldn't you?
I'm
if
happy
you
to pay
knew?
my licence. I'm not trying to get out of anything. I'm not trying to. I just want the people who really need it for all sorts of reasons to get it.
Well, like, for instance, you must get people who write to you as an agony aunt about loneliness, and
so
it's
many.
it's
And I know people. You know, my mother-in-law, who's now 94. You know, all she has during the week really is her television. She lives for the television and the radio, and you know, and it's that it breaks my heart for those people.
Well, I know.
You know,
We
I mean,
all
I've got
know.
some stats
Yeah,
here. There
sorry.
are over 2.2 million people aged 75 and over living alone in Great Britain. 500,000 older people go at least 5 to 6 days a week without seeing or speaking to anyone at all. And loneliness can be as harmful for our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and that's from Age UK.
We see the BBC do Children in Need. We're always, you know, willingly digging in our pockets and sending money to help children all around the world, deprived children. What about BBC do Pensioners in Need? Let's do Pensioners in Need and raise the money for the people who need the BBC the most, and need not just BBC, all television and radio channels. Let's raise that money. So BBC, let's throw the ball straight back to you.